And we're live. Welcome to the Earful of Dirt, Major League Rugby podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Aaron Castro, and I'm joined this evening by Victor Perez and Dan Brown in New York City, Josh Fredland, the extraordinary content editor himself, and producer Corey Munson. So, hit him up, hashtag EODpod, or that's on Twitter, or in the comments on YouTube, and we'll try to answer your questions. So how's everyone's week been?
Great.
Yeah, freaking great.
Been all right.
Yeah. It was a good weekend.
Almost perfect weekend for USA Rugby.
Oh yeah. Well, it was It was a perfect weekend. It was not a perfect start to the week.
True.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah. I have not had my celebratory bender.
What does that involve?
That involves a lot of drinking, but
Monday's a good day to start.
I know it's a great day. So for those new to the podcast, each Monday night we discuss news and rumors from Major League Rugby, the United States Professional Rugby Union competition. It's a chance to discuss the issues, hear from the league, team leadership, and check in with all of you, our friends across the U.S. rugby scenes. No review this week. So, Dan.
Yeah, so we're rounding up, or rounding out, probably one of the best, if not the best weekend in at least the past couple of years of USA Men's Eagles history. Two glorious victories coming from the 15s and 7s men's side. Best weekends of USA Men's Eagles history. We got tie time in Houston, some healthy squabbling about the prospects of a draft, and then, as we alluded to, some unfortunate news about our skipper, I guess, or our CEO of USA.
The skipper.
But let's start off with the actual MLR. It's MLR versus a potential future MLR team.
So, guys, another Canadian team flew down. What happened?
Well, guys, let me take that one. So, oh boy, this game, such a back and forth between the Sabercats and the Ontario Arrows that ended, by the way, with a 28-all score. I'm sure none of you predicted we were going to get a draw out of this game. I was suspecting that the Sabercats were just going to run over them. And I was wrong.
I wanted to see them win by 20 points, just sort of how I wanted to sort of see their progress against New Orleans, which we did see. But this was surprising, to be honest.
I completely agree with that 100%, Aaron. But it's what it is. That's the nature of sport. It's not really fun when you know what's going to happen. And the funny thing is with rugby that almost 100% of the time you can be sure that the team you think is going to win. But again, I'm glad I was wrong at this time. But in any case, and especially after the thriller that we had last week with Nyack, the Sabercats at least did, definitely. 2 weeks ago. Yeah, that's right, man. That's bad. 2 weeks ago, definitely a welcome addition. Now, I was also not sure that the Arrows were going to match the Sabercats' tempo, but like I said, I was gladly wrong. Now, from the commentary, it sounded like the forwards, particularly the front row, was distinctly quick, which obviously regarded the Canadian side with a couple of tries, courtesy of their captain Mike Shepard, and I think their lock Paul Ciullini, I believe is pronounced in Italian. Now, these are the types of games I'm personally looking forward to in Major League Rugby. Those that feel like a professional league is now open for business, and that obviously will attract newcomers to the league itself.
There's a correction on that try. It was actually their hooker, Andrew Quatrin. I was corrected on that.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate the correction there. So that gentleman. Daniel, go ahead.
Yeah, so as I said, tie time in Houston, or as I guess Grant Cole on his Mix LR would say it, tie time. I don't know how he says. Whenever they score, he gets really into it.
I was like, try time, Sabercats! Ah!
Yeah. I wasn't gonna go that far, but yeah, that's better. That's what he does. So tie time in Houston. I didn't actually get to listen to the game, and also I don't know much about it. However, Ontario did actually post a really great highlight video, which we shared on Facebook. And it wasn't really a highlight video per se. It was more or less about a minute and a half or so before all of their trying or their scoring attempts. So you actually got to see a couple phases go through. So I would definitely recommend watching that. There was one play that looked like it was a knock-on in the scrum. So I'm not sure if Ontario should have actually gotten the score there, but game's over. I can't do anything about it. And it's a preseason match, so I don't think anyone's really too upset about that. But it looked like it was very highly contested game. Really, as Victor said, really looking forward to something like this in MLR, especially because Ontario is a potential future member. So
I mean, I haven't. Normally, I do listen to this thing. I just freaking busy this weekend. I'll tell you what. But I was very surprised, especially based on how much practice time the Arrows have had. If you look at their resume, which I did in depth, they had the talent. I mean, it was basically, if you look at the UBC Old Boys roster, the Ravens, it was a bunch of dudes that, there were, I think, like 4 guys with senior caps and then a bunch of guys who played either on the Ontario Blues or other rep sides, and then a bunch of guys who had also played on the U20s or the Canadian Maple Leafs, which is their A side. So they had the talent. I just didn't think they had the chemistry to do what they did, and they did some crazy shit. So,
well, them not being together, I think we had somebody connected to the Arrows tell us on Reddit that they've only been practicing 4 hours a week, every other week. So
I don't know about every other week. They're pretty active on Instagram, so unless they're saving their videos and posting them every day, I think they've been practicing every weekend. Pretty much, because it's sort of like the Blues system is, which is most of those guys are spread out across the province, so they have to work a regular job. Because I think one of the dudes travels like almost 300 miles to practice. So
it's nothing. No commitment. I'm playing about a half-hour commute to practice. 3. That's far.
3 different trains. Half hour?
Yeah, on a good day.
So hey, should we go one last thing about this match?
No.
Sure. What do you got?
So we had a comment come in about Colby Francis, the 8-man for the Arrows. So he was an absolute monster. He got a bunch of the Arrows scrums, even though the SaberCats got a big push on him.
Oh. Yeah. All right.
So we can't speak much to it, but apparently this guy Colby Francis did a great job in the match the other day.
You know what? I will say these 8 men in this league, and I guess this potential new team, there's some monsters playing number 8.
Cam Dolan.
Oh yeah, Cam Dolan.
He's my MVP candidate for this year.
And especially for you look at one of the guys for SaberCats is Pago Haney, otherwise known as, I think we're gonna call him Pago Gronk.
I think that's his IG handle.
Pago Gronk. Shout out. Interesting. So moving on. This is where, I talked about, post-match bender that I owe myself. The United States defeats Uruguay in I would just say a walloping. 61 to 19.
How was your over/under on that one, Aaron? What was your betting on that?
So the math guy who's been helping me out, Rugby Forecast on Twitter, he had Uruguay at -6. I had, before the Brazil game, I had us -10. And then after the Brazil game, I said us -7. And man, I wish I could have found a bookie.
Someone.
I wish I could have found a bookie, man. So yeah, I had us winning, just not like this.
Yeah, it was obviously very surprising. 61-19? I think that was our highest victory over them.
Yeah, so most points scored. Yeah. The biggest point differential was 54 points in 1989. A friend of the show, Tony Ridnell, was on that team that bludgeoned them in Montevideo. So apparently playing in Montevideo used to not be that tough for us.
How times have changed.
Another stat is that 40 points scored was the most points we've scored in a half since 2006, when we scored 49 points against Barbados. In the first half, we defeated Barbados 91-0 that year. And
poor Botans.
First half, pretty dominant, 40 points scored. Also very chippy physical defense by Uruguay, which I think gassed them out. We scored early with Tony Lamborn. So fast was his try off a quick tap that the ESPN replay dude was focused on something else, that we didn't see this. There was only one angle, and it wasn't live. Like, they had to go to the replay because they were focused on the replay.
Just way too fast for anyone.
Yeah. And then Mikey Teo, 2 minutes later, gets the ball pitched to him pretty fast from Sean Davies. He notices the gap, and he just goes. Like, afterburners are on, puts it between the posts, and, Will McGee puts us up 0-14 with his two kicks. Then it was a bit of a back and forth, I'd say, but for the most part, we had a great defensive hold at the try line, which was the only time that Uruguay threatened in the first quarter. And for the most part after that, we kept the ball in their half, and then Dylan Fawcett. This was great. So there was out of a ruck, there was a box kick by Sean Davies. So people have been wondering about that tactic out of Sean Davies. He actually gets box kicks out pretty fast, which I like. And then Augsburger picks it up, kicks a grubber, and then Lasike carries and offloads.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, and I'm never the biggest fan of kicking when you're that close to scoring a try, but that was just perfect placement and perfect timing, where I think there was only one Uruguayan who was running the wrong way. So then the kick basically went over and took a good bounce that just brought him right in. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. And then, so we're up 21-0 just entering the second quarter. And, the blitz defense that the Uruguayans were using, and their attitude was just getting sort of out of control. And to the point where they're fighting amongst each other. And, we probably would have scored the next time. And that's when Augsburger kicks deep, and it bounces just right. So where it's like going high, and we were able to run it down in the try zone. There's like 3 Eagles trying to get this ball. And Santiago Arata is just being like a little Chihuahua scrum half and being mean, and knocks down Henko Hammerscheis, which he probably shouldn't have, because Henko Hammerscheis would eat him. So Henko's like down because I think his head got knocked in this like scuffle, and he's like frick, and then Arata's just standing over him, just going, "Hey, I put you down." Well, guess what, dude? You took a yellow card, and we got the penalty try. And then we just 2 minutes later, Nate Augsburger, dots down a kick from Dylan Owsley, scores a try. We go up 35-0. And then to close out the half at 37-40, Henko goes up, and this is where Will McGee misses his only conversion. He was 6 of 7 with his boots. So it was the first half was what we could play like, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was obviously very happy from the first half. We scored 1 point per minute. It came out to 40-0 at the half. And then even just coming right back from that, at 42nd minute, we scored again, and it came out to be 47-0. I don't know the last time we've had that big of a jump on someone that was actually ranked technically above us. So then it was actually the 44th minute was when Uruguay finally scored its first try. So they went 44 minutes without scoring at all. Scored again a little bit after that, making it 47-14. And then there was a point where we actually had the ball on their goal line, try line, zone line. I don't really know the proper term for these things. I feel like some people hate it when Americans butcher this, but they're right there. Just couldn't get it over, and then Uruguay ended up kicking it out. We're safer then, but just about a second later, there was actually lots of fuego, lots of fighting going on in the second half. Because Aaron, you mentioned that before, where it was getting pretty chippy, but it was the second half where it really got into full on fights.
Oh, it was even like, I think so. Arata stood over, Hanko in the first half, but he was picking fights with everybody. He was trying to pick a fight with Davies, and Davies is like, you see, like the expression on his face is like, you put one here, you're gonna die.
There was one time where it might have been that time where he was picking a fight, and one of his own players came over and grabbed him by the neck and just pulled him away because he's like, just get away. And honestly, the amount of kind of pushing and shoving that happened throughout the day, it's all a blur to me. But there was a point when one of the bigger fights actually broke out, and I think someone had Peter Malcolm in a chokehold at one point too.
Yeah, that's also not smart.
Not really. Don't want to put Bam Bam in a chokehold.
It's the thing is it was the small dudes from Uruguay who
picking
were picking
fights
against the big dudes.
And then there's Cam Dolan, like right there, who's 5 feet taller and 200 pounds more than him.
Hey, we can always ask Ray Barkpool about Arata. He had issues with him last year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like,
yeah, so he does what a scrum half does. He's just that small little guy that likes to get chippy. But apparently, at least according to I think Dan Power, who was there, where when the big fight broke out, apparently one of the Argentinians tried to help up Sean Davies, and he smacked away his hand, and he said, "Get the F out of my face." And then that's when the big fight came out.
So I didn't see that. Like,
I didn't see it.
I remember hearing it, and I'm just like, okay, well, the way this match has been going, I don't want their hand to, like, I'm thinking they're gonna, like, that's just the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick the hand, and then they're gonna punch me in the face. That's with the way that match was going. That's sort of how I felt what was gonna happen.
Yeah. So that came up from there, and coming up with the rest of the half. So I think at this point, and like I said, once the fight started breaking out, it all just kind of came into one big blur. Scored twice again after that. I forget the try that happened immediately after that, but Sam Wuching actually took the ball, ran over. They were basically on the inches, goal line basically. Kept trying to push it over, couldn't get it, and then finally Wuching right there for his first international try, made up for the for the really close one about a week or two ago when he knocked it on. I think it was Chile. He was just right there in the try zone. So that was really great to see Wuching finally get his first try. So overall, 61-19 was the end score. Obviously a great showing, and one thing I really loved was that we fought through every single ruck. Got lots of turnovers through that. We weren't passive about that. We basically bowled through them as much as possible. But is it me or was this match still pretty sloppy, especially in the first half?
I gotta say, I think we played like the minimum standard that we should play, but Uruguay was just so frustrated that they were not focused for this match, and they really played like with I don't know. Maybe they wanted to use a different defense, and it just didn't help them at all. You know?
Yeah, you could tell like a lot of the fights coming out too. You could tell they were just pissed off and more just frustrated because I wouldn't say that most of the scores were really that the U.S. was really outsmarting them or outplaying them because, like I said, they were pretty sloppy in the beginning, but just Uruguay just completely fell apart.
Yeah,
and I guess they were gassed and everything like that. That they were just pissed off that like this is how they started. They're a higher ranked team. They're at home. They want to play spoiler, beat the U.S. That's really same in all sports, and they blew it.
Victor, what are your thoughts here, man?
Cool. So first of all, to the listeners, trust me, it didn't escape me the fact that Dan, instead of saying Uruguayans, Argentinians when it was talking about the whole hand thing. So trust me.
Oh, did say Argentinians?
You did say Argentinian hand. Exactly. Instead of Uruguayan hand, it's okay. They're pretty much the same thing anyway.
They're right next door to each other.
Exactly.
They're pretty much the same thing, he says.
They're pretty much the same thing with their talk. You hear an Uruguayan talk and an Argentinian talk, is that whole Italian-sounding accent. So I really don't blame you for
the Europeans. They feel like they're European, but they're not really.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say they're not because I mean, you go over there, you see all these weird Italian last names and also from other parts of the world. So yeah, I mean, they're like a mini USA anyway, to a certain extent. So yeah. But anyways, we're going to the match. Yeah. So it was first of all great result, despite the mishaps of the second half, as we mentioned, 61-19 was the score, and that's obviously not something that the Eagles put off them, especially on Uruguay, a team that was pretty much the same level with them in the world rankings. Speaking of the world rankings, with this victory, USA is now 15th in the world, which I believe is the highest ranking thus far. And I wish they hope to keep going.
We were ranked 14th a long time ago.
Were we?
Yeah, I can pull it up. But it's the first time we were ranked 15th since before the 2015 Rugby World Cup, when we just went like this.
Like it won't go down. We'll just go up from here. We're ranked one place behind Italy.
So
that's right.
So let's see if we can take it from them, and then we'll have to enter the Six Nations because that's what everyone keeps saying.
I mean, and that's the funny one. And you know, Dan, now that you mentioned Italy, we can take I say we like I'm a player, but the Eagles players can take on Italy. I mean, the last game that they play against them wasn't it 21-18 or 22-18?
2 or 3.
Yeah, exactly.
That was years ago, though, wasn't it?
I mean, no,
2 years ago. Not 2 years ago.
3 years, like 2 years ago.
We lost to Brazil.
Oh, yeah,
2 years ago. That's a big difference.
I'm pretty sure it was 2 years ago. But yeah, they can take them.
About that.
It was in Houston, right?
No, it was in San Jose.
Yeah, it was at Avaya.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in the Avaya Stadium. But yeah, they can take them.
Yeah, like we can play at Italy's level.
On a good day.
Right now. So
he scored 61 points. Yeah.
Apparently, this wasn't a grand slam. I don't know what else you call it, but it's a grand slam. You shush.
It was a grand slam. They didn't lose any games. The 105.
So, you know, for the most part, I think so. We played, the same attacking system we've been using, which is the 1-3-3-1 offense, which with some multiple looks, and pushing the ball wide, trying to play a lot of fast champagne rugby, right? So Uruguay, if you look at how they've played throughout this tournament, use a very simple attack system. It's basically just pod rugby. They call it 4-4, and that really doesn't rely on having skillful forwards that much. And this is for the technical discussion for everyone that wants it, right?
Yeah, Aaron, how'd you learn all these technical things? Did you have a conversation recently with anyone that...
So for all of you that want the technical stuff, please hit our Rugby Techniques series with Gordon Hanlon, where you can learn about the blitz defense, space on the pitch, and then the 3 attack systems we did, which is 2-4-2, 1-3-3-1, and 1-3-2-2. But they tried to out physical us up front, and I think this was why Lasike was put in at inside center. So we basically had 2 flanker type bodies playing in the centers. So physical, just bashing, and
yeah, I really I said this last week too, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Paul Lasike come back because people keep saying different things about him. Like he's from New Zealand. He played rugby his entire life, and then he switched to football. He played both in college and then played NFL. And some people are like, "Oh, he played rugby in college, and he's never really played it before." No, he grew up playing it.
This guy played rugby since he was in diapers.
Yeah.
Like the best part is like a friend of mine's like, I mean, as the friend is like, I really don't care about what people say about Lasike. He's just getting his feet wet. He'll be warmed up in no time. He'll be just like, the guy played, rugby since he was like 5. That stuff doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
I think even, without that like physical blitz defense that they were trying to do, I think the score would have been similar, but the playing style they chose just made it worse on their minds and bodies. What we saw is what you want to see from an American team is that when we play a game, is like we were more physical, we were more fit, and we had speed forever. And
this is honestly this is the brand of rugby I want to see. Like the American brand, I want to see, fighting with the rucks, getting physical, having fast wings. Obviously, being as technical as possible because Americans are not known for being very technical, but really, just punishing people who try to think that they get tackled and they can seal the ruck and then just kind of sit there and not really pay attention. And scrum half just kind of walks up, picks up the ball when they're ready. He's like, no, I want to fight through this, and I want to punish them if they think that they can just take advantage of that and get turnovers. Get scrappy with that.
And by the way, now that Dan mentions the style of play of the U.S., you guys probably noticed that every particular team, at least of the Tier 1, has a specific type of play that you say, oh, the English play like, the French play like, the New Zealanders play like. We in the U.S., we still don't have a particular way of playing that you could say, oh, this is the way Americans play. But this is actually a great opportunity, guys, as we're going up in the rankings. Since USA is pretty much an amalgamation of people groups from all over the world, in rugby, that's how they should be played. It should be a mix of all the Tier 1 nations' way of playing put in one team. And that should be the U.S. way of playing that I would like to see.
The good parts, not the bad parts.
Yeah, I really. Parts, of course. So one of the, if you read like Rugby Strategy 2020, whatever that was, whatever the thing was, it talked about developing, for coaching wise, it talked about developing the American style of play. So if you go to New Zealand, there's a New Zealander style of play. Like that kids grow up, that they play from when they're 5 to when they're All Blacks. So there's just the reason why they're so good is that the system just goes all the way down, even though that some of the attack shapes are different from, club to club, which allows, New Zealand system, which we haven't done a thing on it. It's called the 1-6-1, which is really it's a full on multiple offense. So it can do anything.
The other thing that actually plays into playing styles is the weather too, because obviously if you're in England or Scotland or Wales or Ireland, you're not going to have, average of 80, 90 degree weather and dry. It's going to be, for the most part, kind of cold and wet. So their playing style does reflect that a lot. And same thing with the Southern Hemisphere. So the U.S., though, which makes it at least a little bit unique compared to a lot of other countries, is that we have so many different geographic locations. Climate in different places in the U.S. That, as Victor was saying, we can put a lot of different things together, and we can piece a lot of these things together, and then, roll over the world. Take it over.
Questions.
So we were talking about northern and southern hemisphere, different playing styles, but we also can see that northern and southern hemisphere refs have different playing styles. So does that
reffing styles?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh yeah. You really see that. I mean, during the we really saw the difference during the Lions tour when you had about half the refs were European based, so they were reffing you see like the reffing, like Plot was reffing, the way I would say a top 14 scrum was reffed, versus there's a difference with a Southern Hemisphere style scrum versus a Northern Hemisphere style scrum. And I'll tell you, we are like our scrum coaching is a lot of Southern Hemisphere style, especially like with Mitchell and especially with Gary Gold, because I mean he was the forwards coach for the Springboks back in 2007 when they had like that great World Cup run. So I think we're going to see that continuation. But I also believe that we have the ability to develop different types of skills with our forwards.
Definitely.
Anything else about this topic, guys? I think I'm going to beat the dead horse. So Dina Waldron played 40 minutes in the second half, and I noticed that the scrum didn't collapse nearly as much.
What are you trying to say?
Well,
the mullet lost his superpowers.
Yeah,
the mullet.
I'm telling you guys, like Samson. I'm telling
Mullet
you.
and a stash, really. I think he has like a full kind of 5 o'clock shadow going on now. He used to have just a straight stash, mullet.
Yeah,
and you can't go wrong with that.
I don't know what was up there. It's like I'm surprised we did not concede a lot more scrum penalties.
I think Uruguay gave up a lot though.
Oh, they gave up a ton. I'm just surprised we didn't get called for a bunch based on like how Bowman was scrimmaging.
Yeah, and I love Bowman. I've loved seeing him play, and I love just his attitude. But I know props can last a long time, but he is getting up there, and we're in a thinking more towards 2023 or 2027 when we host the World Cup. Knock on wood. It can happen.
So, on to the next topic that Dan and I just battled it out in the octagon with pugil sticks.
Yeah.
So, guys, one of the topics that came up during Dean Howe's portion during Q&A of the San Diego Legion Media Day was that in the future there's going to be a draft. I will say he did not say when, but he said it's going to happen. So
yeah.
I did run a poll, so let me get the data. But Dan, you're
punching the numbers in right now. So he did say that there will be some sort of college draft in the future. He didn't say next year. He didn't say 20 years from now. Didn't specify. Also said there'd be an expansion draft, those are really two different kinds of drafts altogether. But what we're really talking about here is the college draft, and there's a lot of debate on, especially the Reddit pages, about is there a need for a draft? Does that defeat the purpose of having the academy systems? And you could see, for the most part, some pretty straight down the middle, people from traditionally tier 1 countries were very much against the idea of a draft. A lot of Americans, for the most part, were very much for having a draft. To me, I don't really see the need for having a draft, and there's a couple different reasons why. I don't really think that there's it's necessary to create a very specific college draft where you can maybe organize the combines and sign players after college, still get colleges involved, but not have a specific draft that's just for them. The other is that I really do think it does run counter to the idea of the academy system. I know a lot of players who end up playing for academies do not go pro, and that's just the nature of the business. But I think the academies have a great, I guess, spill off or runoff effect, where even the players who don't make it, maybe they'll play for a local college, maybe they'll end up becoming, a club player in their adult ages, but they played when they were younger. They learn these technical skills. They become overall better players. They become captains of their team, and they can help out and basically coach some of the newer players who don't know. The other being is just it just creates more demand for younger players. So I think that having a draft, unless done right, kind of hurts this idea, which I think is really a great idea and gets the teams involved with building local youth rugby.
So
that's just my opening statement.
Gonna push the data that we received. So 39% said nope, and then everyone else. I had 4 options: year 2, year 5, and year 10. So everyone else said yes, but they said which year. I will point out that my vote went to year 10, and that only got 6%. Then year 2 and year 5 both got 27%.
Mm-hmm.
So there's your data on our unscientific poll.
Yep.
Okay, guys, so let me jump into the issues. So if MLR wants to have a draft system, personally, I don't have a problem with that. But I think having open trials is better, since there's a smaller base in rugby as opposed to American football. Now, academies and amateur clubs should be the source of player scouting, like it is now to a certain extent. That's for now. And then in a few years, a draft system can be implemented. So, yeah, by year 10, let's say, for example.
Gosh, what do you got?
So, since Dean Howes was part of Major League Soccer, I decided to look up Major League Soccer's draft. They actually technically started their draft when they started play.
Oh, yeah.
They started in 1996. They actually had 2 separate drafts. They had a supplemental draft where they basically, if you were playing professionally in the USL, you were eligible for that. And then if you were coming out of college, there was the college draft. Then in 2000, they basically just combined that, and it's now known as the Super Draft. So I guess that brings up the question, do we draft players from clubs?
Yeah. So, Liam, what do you have to say? Poacher, Penguin Tundra himself. So he's like, okay, so if you're a college student who doesn't live near an academy, you have to do your own work in getting your name out there. A draft will force more attention to a wider field of players. I do agree with that. However, I am with Dan in saying that this has to be done correctly. I don't think it's a year 2 thing. I don't, because I think in order to do this correctly is that you have a blended system like the MLS, and they keep trumpeting the MLS model. So at some point, there's going to be a minor league set up that is an extension of Major League Rugby. So you're gonna have to put bodies in there, right? And then, so MLS has their Super Draft, which they pull guys up from the minor leagues and college, and then, going into where college rugby is, there's a bunch of data I pushed out last week on Twitter. And so there's over 540 NCAA programs. That doesn't count NAIA football at all. No. Yeah, it doesn't count NAIA football. So you have 120 full scholarship, 85 scholarships at Division I FBS, and then you have 85 scholarship equivalencies for Division I. No. Correction. 65 scholarship equivalencies that can be split off on 85 players. And then it goes down, and Division III has no scholarships. But you have over 540 programs that are in daily training environments, even at the Division III level. And in rugby, there aren't really a lot of schools handing out scholarships. And there's only about 10 schools that have A, the environment, and B, the full-time head coaches. So I think, I've said 50, but I think we need a massive youth explosion. We need high school varsity rugby, and we need like 100 schools where they're paying a full-time head coach and their guys are practicing more than twice a week. Everyone's in the gym. Everyone's, out there working. They're 2 hours of practice in the evening, 4 nights a week, and then they play their game. So if we don't have high performance environments at the collegiate level, then there's no purpose to have a draft.
Yeah, that's something that I had an issue with initially with the draft. If it was implemented, year 2, 3, or 4, there wouldn't be good enough players outside of maybe a 1-round or 2-round drafts that would really matter for the most part. I mean, there may be a couple guys at the very top, but I think there'd be a huge drop off.
So was it 27 guys who graduated in 2017 have signed MLR contracts, and there's a few other guys that haven't signed MLR contracts. But so say all 27 of those guys had said, "Hey, we're going to go in the draft." That still only gives you a 2-round draft and then free agent signings. Whereas think about how many college seniors graduate from that go into the draft pool, let alone draft eligible juniors, right? You have thousands of guys to pick from out of 350 spots in the NFL draft. So the talent pool needs to be built. So I really don't see it being a thing for 10 to 15 years. And 10 years would be early. And that would require a massive youth explosion, a massive high school explosion of athletes, and then colleges being serious. That's the biggest thing. Is like, do colleges want to be serious about their rugby programs? Because it's not NCAA. So you got to make adult decisions to support this via your alumni, endowments, and the school just fronting cash like Life or Grand Canyon or Lindenwood does.
The other thing too with the whole draft system is it Matt Truville, who is the academy director for Houston SaberCats, actually said, and I think you were at the Lost Afternoon when he gave this or something like that, where he basically said in America, colleges are the way to go when it comes to sports. This is when you get a lot of your players because they have the systems in place and they put everything together. So even though he's the academy director and he's putting together all this academy for Houston, he understands the importance of working with the colleges. So there is something where it may necessarily make a draft not necessary, is that a lot of times maybe they can have local partnerships with the colleges in conjunction with having their own academy. When you have an academy, you're not going to get 5, 6, 7 players every single year who are going to be able to make it pro. That's just not how it works. You're going to get a lot of players who have an academy contract and they may just drop off. They may not be good enough to play pro, and I guess that's really it. They can go play club rugby. But you want to, as a team, you want to make sure you have as many players as possible to choose from. So if you can partner with local colleges, or even maybe the league just has to put on these combines where instead of having just a strict draft, maybe have a college signing period or something like that. Obviously, there are certain things about this league that it does have to adapt for the American system, but it doesn't necessarily have to be.
There was something brought up, a conversation I had. So you know how James Kennedy said, if you're Irish and American qualified, call me? So MLR puts out the call. If you're Irish, English, Kiwi, Australian, but American qualified, here's the application link, submit your resume. What if the draft becomes foreign players who are American qualified? Like that's so say there's 50 guys that submit applications and you run a 4-round draft on a 10-team league. That could be something that could work.
Right. But then you'd be getting a lot of foreign players who wouldn't necessarily meet the foreign player criteria, correct?
Yeah, so they're American qualified because they have, their grandma is an American or their mom is American. So
or they were born here or something.
Or they're born here and they just grew up elsewhere. So,
But isn't that an issue in the club competitions right now? Like there are USA qualified, but they count as a foreign player.
So, yeah, but this is MLR, man. MLR is a
Just
commercial
asking.
organization. Yes, they're mirroring their rule again based on USA Rugby, but I know Old Blue has had to fight that. But if you are an Eagle, which this is something they've had to fight, you shouldn't count towards the foreign player cap.
Because this is ridiculous.
Because it's ridiculous. So I think it's just their rule is based on like the 5 foreign players are going to be sort of marquee-ish players, right? And then if you're American qualified, you're just going into the general pool. And that's sort of you take all those young guys that are Charlie Hewitt's age or Connor Murphy's age or Justin Allen's age that can come in and start right away.
So I guess that leads into the question you brought in, the foreign player draft. What if we don't do a draft? What if we just have like a combine? Because I know the teams had their own combines. What if the league had its own combine, maybe like one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast? If you want to play in this league, attend one of them. The teams will all attend both of them, or however many they want to put on, and they sign them through that. Like it's almost like a free agent combine.
That's what I think is a way forward. It's like, so all of these players say they want to be in the MLR next year, right? So the league has the date. They do 2 combines, so everyone watches. Oh, you want to sign that player? Okay, you got to have an agent and you got to go negotiate and you got to do whatever you're going to do. But that's also something I see that's a future thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that could, in some sense, replace some need for a draft because, as many people, like Liam was just saying, if you're going to school or if you just live in, like, I think he goes to school in Vermont, and you're in a place that's far away from any real program, you're far away from academy or you're far away from even one of these combines, he thinks that having a draft would really help with that because then people will be paying scouts to go to all these different colleges and stuff and really pick it out. But I think having these combines would really take out a big part of it and helping uncover players that you may not necessarily have known about.
Corey, in regards to standardizing college competitions, I've written about this a few times. And, the biggest issue with standardizing this is USA Rugby either needs to have an alignment conference and bring all the college coaches and administrators in and say, this is what we're going to do. For D1A, you have to meet these standards. For D1AA, you have to meet these standards. For D2, you have to meet these standards. NSCRO, which governs the majority of collegiate rugby, has specific standards that teams have to meet. So, or like with the Varsity Cup thing, which sort of didn't really work and wasn't I just didn't believe in it, and it the way they did it didn't really work out that well. But the colleges can just take the power themselves and have their conference have their kumbaya without the union and say, hey, we came together. This is what we're going to do. This is how we would like you to administer this, and here's your $5,000 sanction fee. Bye.
Yeah, this is another issue that comes up is the fact that USA Rugby and collegiate rugby is not really aligned. So that kind of it throws a lot in there, and it's club rugby. Even at colleges, they're not Division I, Division II, whatever, NCAA. So they're not going to get the same funding from these schools that they would if they were. Obviously, schools like Cal,
$2 million Saturday. What up?
Yeah. So obviously, schools like Cal and Life and other, St. Mary's, everything like that, they're obviously investing. Well, a lot of these schools can't invest that much. It's just the fact that there aren't that many colleges who really focus on rugby. That if they invest just a little bit, that just goes a long way. So
at the end of the day with that, it's like, so do the alumni of that school want to support their rugby program? Because that's why Cal Rugby is like this, because the alumni pay the bills.
Yeah.
And that's the truth with every sport, really. is like the alumni or the big boosters that have their pet sport is football. They throw down the money to buy out Charlie Strong's contract, or they throw down the money to buy out Todd Graham's contract, or they throw down the money to say, hey, Hugh Freeze got to go.
Well, that's actually what Loyola in Baltimore is doing. My dad went there, and he's actually working a lot with them. And they put together, I think, 4 $2,500 scholarships to potential rugby players. And it's all strictly alumni driven. That's just what they have to do because they don't get as much support, but they're trying to become one of the better NSCRO, club rugby colleges. And it's working. They're in the Final Four, I think, or something like that. I'm not really sure exactly how it works.
All right. I think we've, hit that one up. So there were no player signings this week. So this was kind of cool. Dan.
Hold on. I'm just pulling this up. Oh, yeah. So my tweet of the week. So this I found this today as I was actually just surfing through Twitter. This is in reference to Barstool Big Cat. So the original tweet was actually from Ben Pinkelman. Ben Pinkelman being the captain of the USA Sevens team. He tweets at Barstool Big Cat. He goes, "We may not be household names, but we got more airtime on ESPN2 than Barstool Van Talk. Hashtag AWL at Pardon My Take." Big Cat retweets it going, cold-blooded. That's it, just cold-blooded. Ben Pinkelman. So I just found it really funny. I don't personally read Barstool or anything like that, but I do know that they like to respond to things like this, and it's really funny.
I just want to know what it's in reference to because I couldn't find anything.
So it's because all of the big stuff that got shifted to ESPN from ESPN3 this weekend, and then Perry Baker also made the top 10 on Saturday night. I think it was.
Iosefo made it on Friday.
So there we go. 2 nights in a row. We're on the top Sports Center top 10. So that's something better, right? That's exposure.
Yeah, which I guess actually going from that, that's probably a good transition going straight into the other glorious victory that we were talking about before. I know that's one of our trending topics that we had coming up. Sorry to steal that from you, Josh.
No, you're good. So
run with it. Just run.
Yeah. So after being knocked out in the semis for the past 3 years, I think.
Yep.
The USA finally made the final on their home tournament, and they beat Argentina 28-0. Perry Baker is averaging 4 sidesteps per try, and like we said, we got a couple mentions on SportsCenter's top 10.
Yeah, my cousin texted me. He actually played a game of rugby with me because I forced him to come out once. And he actually texted me. He says, "Did you see that USA rugby player deke the hell out of that Australian guy?" I was like, "Yeah, I saw it." But with the Perry Baker comment too, it's like it's unbelievable what he's doing because like people say, "Oh, he's just fast," but you see him and you watch this, and there are 3 Fijian defenders. Keep in mind, this is the Olympic gold-winning Fijian squad, minus 2 players because the Houston SaberCats signed them, so that may actually be the reason why we made it out of the semis. Still, some of the best sevens players in the world had to triple team him on our own goal line, and he jukes, run past them all the way down, and scores. But I think in the final, what was just so much more beautiful was when we were actually probably on like the 22 or something, and Danny Barrett gets tackled, Perry Baker gets the ball, and I don't know what he does. He takes a couple steps, he goes in between them, he does a spin move. There's 3 guys trying to tackle him, quick offload to Danny Barrett, try. And it's like that's the kind of stuff that like you watch and it's just amazing to see that happen, see someone actually perform that mastery.
I think that was the try that Argentina threw a hissy fit about Barrett.
Yeah.
Well, moving on to our other trend.
Took 10 years, man. 10 years, and we finally did it.
Well, in USA, we had won a previous cup tournament. We won the 2015 London Sevens tournament.
But no one cares as much about that.
True. Hey, that was a tournament that Collins and Giro ruined a $200,000 camera because he signed it.
Wait, what happened? What happened?
I remember that.
So some celebrations, the players will sign the camera.
Yeah.
Well, they try to get them to tell the cameraman before so he could put something over the camera so it doesn't ruin the camera.
Oh no.
Collins and Giro didn't know that, so he signed the camera, and I think the camera was worth a crazy amount of money, and he ruined the camera.
That's funny.
And
Alright.
the worst, and the funny thing is, it was a permanent marker.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what ruined the camera.
Wow.
Okay, moving on. Our other trending topic. Rugby United New York seems to be pulling a lot of press, especially internationally, especially the Irish papers. They're hosting another meet and greet happy hour, a coach's Q&A session, and an open training. And, they have clear intentions to make the team available.
Nice.
Dan, you could probably speak to that since you're in New York.
Victor too.
Sorry, Victor.
Yeah. I was the one who wrote that down, so that was coming from me. But yeah, as Victor, you can talk to this too. But we're very happy that this team is really making itself available, and it's not just like, oh, they're kind of practicing off to the side and organizing, and they're keeping everything quiet, but they're really trying to get out there and get in front of people. It also helps that they have Rugby Wrap Up, who's a good friend of the owner, and he's probably the biggest, I guess, USA-based talk show that we really have.
Yeah.
Other than us, other than us.
Hey. Moving on up. All right.
Yeah.
So more or less news here. Not really views or a beast this time, but I'm sure I do have one view. Glendale Raptors introduced Rudy the Raptor. It's horrifying. And the guys, it's a blue angry bird.
It's not that horrifying. It's not horrifying.
Sorry, Seattle's is worse.
I like it.
I just want to know how much it's going to cost to get the mascot at my non-existent kid's birthday. Okay? Thanks.
Oh, which one
There's
would
already
you
been
rather
Emma
have?
themed birthdays.
Which one would you rather have? The angry bird, the sea wolf, or the, as you suggested earlier, the Easter Island heads for Utah?
that needs to happen.
That was Bob Oberson who actually
I suggested that. I sent the link in. So I grabbed the link from Night at the Museum.
Yeah.
With the talking Easter Island head. Hey, dum-dum. Give me some gum-gum. And then that was awesome. And then so
I want to see the mascots race each other like they do for all the baseball games.
And then Josh said, what was it? If we get 14 teams, we need to do mascot sevens.
That would actually be really entertaining. Those costumes are pretty expensive, but that would definitely be worth it. If you had like an all-star game, then that'd be the best way to really kick it off.
Yeah.
Or at halftime of the championship game.
Oh yeah.
It's true.
So San Diego Legion also had their press conference last Wednesday. So hard fact, salary cap for the full-time players is $350K, which is, if you spread that across only 10 guys, that's good money for the first season. So they have an international streaming deal that they will announce, and there will be a minimum of 10 domestic teams next year. They have another associate member of the league that they have not announced yet. And then they're looking to have a 10th full member that is American-based, and also 2 Canadian teams for 2019, if not 2020. San Diego Legion's ticket sales have started, and the NOLA Gold Stadium update, it's almost done, man. I was sent a photo by General Manager Ryan Fitzgerald, and you look at it, you're probably not going to be able to look at it for the audience, but I'll put that up there. See that the bleachers.
You could share it on social media so people can just see it later.
I suppose it's been a week, so the foundation of the bleachers is in, so they just need to put the actual seats on that thing, and then it's ready to go. Grass looked nice. Houston released a YouTube video. They will be playing at Dyer Stadium, right next to Carbach Brewing.
Coincidentally.
Dan, this is where it's sort of, I guess, the wrong way to start the week. Dan Payne will be stepping down as CEO of USA Rugby in August. It's hard to see anyone who would have led the union as well as he did over the past 18 months, especially given the bag of shit that Nigel left for him. I don't think he was necessarily prepared, and if things were better, I think he could have accomplished many more things for the union. But thank you for your service, Dan. Can't wait to see the next thing you do. Also, congratulations. He has a daughter on the way in August.
Very nice. I will say that coming from the Nigel Melville era, which is very much, I guess, the way he acted at least was very closed doors, just the old boys talking to each other and kind of keeping everything away from the average player and fan. Dan Payne really took that and completely open. He started off, I think, in his first month or two with a Facebook Live Q&A. Was really dedicated to helping the grassroots, and that's something that, even though the CEO of USA Rugby doesn't have as much power as you'd think, because obviously the board comes a lot into it too, he is the face of our administration. He's done a great job. He's always been very receptive. When Victor and I were in Philadelphia for the Saracens match, we saw him there. We walked over, just said, "Hey, do you mind just coming over for a quick interview?" He said, "Yes, of course." He came with us. He walked to a quiet place, very respectful about the entire thing. So it was really an honor to actually get a chance to speak to him. He's a great guy. I love him.
Yeah. So many people say, hey, the CEO of a corporation shouldn't be nearly that open. But, after Nigel, who was definitely cold and irresponsible with our cash,
like an Englishman.
Yeah. It was needed to have an open and congenial personality leading USA Rugby. I think as a member-based organization, I'm not saying he needs to put out our little member fires, but if we, give him a tweet, say, hey, what's up? He responds, or if people send a serious email and he responds, or he finds the person to get it solved if you do have issues. That's what a CEO of a membership organization is supposed to do, because we're all paid. Well, I don't know about y'all. Dan and I are paying members of the union, but he's responsible to lead this organization, so he's responsible to individual members, and he understood that right away and has been one of the most open people when it comes to stuff. He responds to our emails about everything. So what about you guys? Do you guys have anything to say? Or I know the other Dan has more things to heap in praise.
Go ahead, Dan. No worries. Go ahead.
And it completely escaped me, so I feel like a total jackass right now. But I had something else that was pretty nice to say.
So I guess I have a question on this then.
Jump on it.
Do we go for a rugby guy, or do we go for a business guy, or do we go for the combination? Guy we know.
That was what I had to say.
So I think a lot of people are going to say we need to find Nathan Bumbry's price and get him over here from the Scottish Rugby Union. He's the CEO of Glasgow. I think that Nathan is ready to go ready to be on the board. To be honest, he's been groomed by the Scottish Rugby Union. I don't think he needs to be CEO. I think his place is on the board and probably eventually board chair. But we need someone that understands American rugby, but understands how to run a business, because we have not had for prior to Dan. I mean, Dan knew how to run an athletic business after being the athletic director at Life for 2 years. So he knew, but I don't think he knew what he was getting into until like he just started, until the Inferno exploded when he showed up on day one, which I'm not saying he wasn't equipped to do that, but he didn't have any reinforcements to help him out.
Well, I think actually I just remembered now what I was trying to say about Dan, but it was great having him as a CEO because he understood the landscape. He didn't play as a kid, but he played after college, went on to be in the national team, started the undergraduate program in Life. So he really understood the whole athletic side of it from many different places, because he played in San Diego and he was coach over there in Georgia. So he knew a lot about the rugby landscape. So it was great to do that. But I think bringing him in was sort of like when you have, like in the NFL, if for instance you're like, I don't know, a Jets fan like me, and we're terrible year after year, some days you just have to just hit restart, blow everything up, bring in like a young up and coming guy who you really trust but just hasn't had the experience yet. So I guess in that sense, if Dan had more from the athletic director side and really understood rugby, but may not have understood as much about USA Rugby and how like a nonprofit governing body works, he was the guy that's done a great job. Really up and coming guy, even though now he's no longer CEO.
He's put out a lot of fires, but we're sort of still in a bit of the same position. We're still in a bad market capitalization. We got better under his watch,
which is not all on him too. That's something.
No, it's not all on him. We got like the reason we got better was because of him.
Yeah,
but we need someone who is rugby minded, I would say, but can pull us out of the funk.
Financial wizard.
Someone who can make us some money. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, thanks for your service. And I think the next one is San Diego Legion will play Austin Elite on March 24th. So, Corey, where are you?
I'm sorry. That was a really great transition going from all the news, Dan Payne for 20 minutes. And,
San Diego here's a good one. James Kennedy for CEO. Done, make it happen.
Not for a while. By the way, the San Diego Legion Austin Elite game, that's a home game or away?
It's at Austin, according to the Major League Rugby site.
At Austin Elite, find out.
And in the next couple of weeks, because there are more games coming up now, so lots of different teams coming up. Perfect time to really get in on that MLR fantasy. So we're really going to start pushing that a bit too, because they're going to be at least one weekend that will have more than just one game. So you have lots of different players to actually pick from. Get it.
So, Bob, where are you? Where's Bob? Bob?
Wake up.
Hey, no, I was sorry, I was distracted for 1 second answering a question from the side room. I apologize, guys. How's it going tonight?
Well, Bob had some questions, so we're waiting for you to read them.
Yeah, well, that's what I do, and apologize for the delay there. So enough about me. Let's talk about you for a minute. Bob Boberson wants to know, what do you guys think about the mascots so far? There's Rucky and Rudy.
Angry Bird is better.
Give me more, I guess.
They're a lot better than the Sunwolves mascot from a couple of years ago, which they switched. But the Sunwolves,
that was so bad.
I think that it was awesome, but it was terrifying. And the whole point of a mascot is to be there for the kids, and the kids are not going to want to stay near that. I think people coined the phrase like "rapey wolf" because it looked like it was, yeah.
Okay, so we got the Sunwolves, the Sea Wolves. Who becomes the Snow Wolves?
The Snow Wolf.
Canada, Vancouver. It doesn't snow very much there, actually.
So we've got 2. Do we want to see more?
Yeah, I mean,
Why
obviously
not?
we can't have the sevens match if we only have 2.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is where I go, with Americanization of rugby and like embracing American culture. And in American culture, we have mascots. So every team's got to have a mascot so you can, rent it out for someone's birthday party.
Well, like you said, the Sunwolves have a mascot. We all know very much about now.
Hey, I've seen some mascots in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's not like every single team has it, but they have them.
All right, moving along. Flippity Floppity 10, another one of our regulars, wants to know, do any MLR teams have cheerleaders? So kind of along the same vein there.
Well, Sabercats have the Saber Kittens, but I don't know if that's going to evolve into like a full-on dance team.
I think that the idea behind that is kind of like
it was like
basically-
genies, right? Because I mean, I would say like more like a yell crew, because they like do a bunch of
Pep
chanting
crew.
stuff. Yeah, pep
Well, it's
crew.
kind of like when you go to baseball games, they're the people that throw out all the T-shirts.
Exactly.
The party crew or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just thinking back to the recently completed Olympics, and there was at least one country that seemed to have very well.
No. Moving on.
No. Next question. Oh,
We don't want to spend time on North Korea. Come on, guys.
no.
Unless they have a rugby team, no.
No.
Michael H. Render. Sounds like a proper name. Has a question, and that is, has there been an announcement of who the streaming partner will be? And he says, I really want to watch MLR and don't want to pay for it.
He doesn't mind.
paying.
Doesn't mind.
Oh, doesn't mind. Don't mind paying for it.
It hasn't been announced, but it's confirmed that it's done.
The other thing too is that from the San Diego Legion Q&A, they actually said yes, it's done, and it's at the top of your list, or at the top of your very short list in terms of well-known names for streaming partners.
You have like the streaming partners are Amazon straight up, Netflix straight up, then you have NBC Sports straight up, and then CBS is launching their thing, and ESPN's launching their thing, and then YouTube has their own platform as well. So, guessing it's not Flow Rugby now.
Really hope it's YouTube. Really hope it's YouTube.
Yeah, I'm thinking YouTube.
That'd be great.
Hey, it could be
top of my
could
very
be
short list.
ESPN Plus.
It's true. They are coming up with ESPN Plus.
That would be interesting. I think the first thing that runs into my mind when you're talking about a TV product, though, is, why wouldn't CBS use their online stuff for?
Because it sucks.
Well, because it doesn't
They know
exist yet. It's just been announced that they're doing it. So
Okay, they literally just added CBS Sports to the DirecTV streaming app like a month ago. And they finally got the DirecTV login on their streaming website.
Because they were pushing it for MLR. That's why.
So originally, this was brought up because I asked about this, right? YouTube was put on San Diego Legion's website, but it has since been taken down. So maybe it is YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, it was on like their sponsor page, and it was like benefits of being a sponsor.
But it wouldn't be on like regular YouTube. It would be on like YouTube TV. So you'd have to subscribe to it, people.
Are you sure? Definitely.
I mean, why would you put it? I mean,
because it's free access. I mean, I'm assuming that the way they want to do it, they have the CBS Sports, which is TV, and apparently now has some streaming capabilities too. but
Well,
for
I
YouTube for
I do it to say, since they have that international streaming deal. I know YouTube has geo blocking. Would they just put it on YouTube in North America and then geo block
So
everywhere else?
if it's an international streaming deal, you can geo block the game of the week domestically, right?
Yeah.
And then have all of the games not geo blocked in like the UK or Canada or whatever. in Mexico.
That's why I really want it to be YouTube, because people can watch YouTube and it's the same stream. Like ESPN, some countries don't have ESPN, so they wouldn't be able to actually stream it. But YouTube is available in almost every country except for one that we discussed earlier on this pod that also had really good cheering sections.
Actually, too.
But all the rugby playing countries have it, and it's easy for them to use. A lot of times they use it anyway. So, I mean, I really want that international deal to be very easy for them to access. They can just go on YouTube, watch it. Especially if it's just the first year or two.
I think it's gonna be. I just based on the way this is going, it's gonna be a subscription based service. It's just not gonna be a one with limited reach like the rugby channel, because somebody decided to ask on Twitter, "Hey, for the non-game of the week, are they gonna choose? They're gonna negotiate with the rugby channel?" I mean, the rugby channel has 5,000 subscribers.
It's very recognizable for us.
Hey,
Actually, speaking of the rugby channel, this is something I meant to bring up earlier. So in the USA Rugby, page or whatever for talking about Dan Payne when he was leaving, there's actually a quote when it said, when asked what is immediately next for Payne, he replied, "I'm going to focus my remaining time with USA Rugby on a successful Rugby World Cup 7th in San Francisco, assist in every way possible to support the debut season of Major League Rugby, and finalize the agreement for a Women's 7 Series stop in the United States this fall." So obviously it's all good things, but he actually did say, and USA Rugby is posting that he said he's going to fully support Major League Rugby, which...
So if we read the tea leaves, I'm pretty sure that this sanctioning agreement is done, and there were some MLR people in Vegas.
They're players.
Weekend. No, I mean officials.
Yeah, obviously.
So I know that Thierry Dupont went to Vegas this weekend. So, there was a USAR board meeting, which is sort of abnormal to have two board meetings in a month. So it could have been a special session to approve a sanctioning agreement or partnership or whatever we're going to call it.
Yeah, and we obviously knew that they were going to support Major League Rugby. It's just that they weren't able to be open about it yet because of the whole sanctioning thing with Pro. However, this is the first bit that I've seen publicly.
Oh, yeah.
Through the CEO and also on the page saying we're supporting Major League Rugby.
Yeah.
They wouldn't post that unless they just messed up.
No, I think that's intentional.
Yeah.
To say that. So.
That's really encouraging, though, I think.
Yeah, it is. Next question.
Next question is from Rugger BT. Wants to know, any idea what team will the Eagles play on June 9th at Dick's Sporting Goods Park in Denver?
So it was supposed to be Germany. It obviously is not going to be Germany because of their players' strike, and they just got shellacked by Belgium. So,
which is a pretty not very good team. They're ranked like 28th or 29th.
Yeah, so that's
69-12.
By low end tier 3 team. And then so if things go the way I think they're gonna go in the rec, let's get Spain over here. That's gonna be a good game.
Be fun. And also
then you can bring the Spanish women over here and we can have like a big weekend. Because our women currently only have one test against an unannounced opponent, so bring the Spanish women over here too, so we can have like a big,
double header.
And,
Plus,
and by the way, guys, real quick, speaking of the Spanish women, they just won the REC version, like the rec.
The sixth year in a row.
Exactly.
6th year in a row. That's what I'm saying. Bring them over. I mean,
that'd be good. I'd like to see them play against the women. Are they Eagles too?
Yeah,
or...
women's Eagles.
No, they're Lionesses.
Las Leones.
Las Leonas.
Lionesses. Leones against the women Eagles. So that'd be
yeah.
Whoever's coming over, it should be a European tier 2 country because Dan Payne specifically said they're waiting for the outcome of the REC.
So if things go the way they're supposed to go,
it has to be Spain.
Spain will qualify, so they won't have to play like anyone else to go to the World Cup. So they're open for the summer.
Yeah, and all they have to really do is win out because I think
don't even need a bonus point.
No, they don't need a bonus point because of the Romania's. I think they won against Russia, but they only won like 25-12 or something.
Yeah.
So they don't need the bonus point anymore. So all they have to do is win against a really weak Germany, which the Egg Chasers are going to be at. And I'm going to try and watch as much as possible. And then Belgium, which is also not that great of a team. Unless they mess up, and then Romania's in. Sucks.
Oh, yeah. So, next question.
All right. So Liam, who's been really throwing some stuff at us on the YouTube chat tonight, so thank you for that. He had a question earlier that I thought I'd save for this section, and he wanted to know, do we know if any of the Eagles returning from the ARC are going to be back in time to play on their home squad of the Raptors versus Nolot this weekend?
I would say
I doubt it.
No, but I could ask that question.
I'd say Bursic isn't playing either for NOLA.
Any reason why not?
Because they played 6 straight weeks in the ARC.
Davies is hanging out with his dog. So that.
We'll tweet that later.
What should we do so you can watch the picture?
Psalm Wooching has a cat. So.
Any other animals?
Animals, the MLR, a new podcast from Earful of Dirt.
On Wednesday.
So is that before or after the Pokemon Go podcast?
Oh, we have so many shows under our umbrella now. It's
Man, seriously.
I just don't have time. I'm working 9 to 5 and have all these podcasts. I don't know how I do it.
Yeah. Victor, how's the Spanish lessons podcast been coming?
I didn't even know we had one of those.
Language podcast.
It's got to be on the list somewhere.
Well, Spanish. That's still under development. The Spanish language podcast.
All right.
Final question, and this is kind of a little bit of a plant, so I'll go ahead and answer this one myself. But Tobar the Gypsy on Reddit asked, "What is Discord?" Well, Dan, I'm glad you asked.
I didn't ask. Someone on Reddit asked.
That was some guy called Tobar.
You got that name? I don't know who came up, why anyone came up with the title of that program. It's a chat program, I guess, live chatting. But sewing Discord is the first thing that came up to my mind.
Ah, that's what you meant by that. Okay.
Yes.
I was so confused. So basically this week, as Aaron loves to point out, sometimes I get bored and I fiddle with things, and idle hands being the devil's playground, as they are, I thought it'd be fun to go ahead and set up a Discord channel just for our subreddit, RML Rugby. And so that's live and up and running now, and you can find a link to it over on our Reddit page. We'll probably tweet something out about it this week sometime too, just get some more folks interested. But yeah, so far so good. Today is the first full day that it's been active, and we got probably about 7-8 people up there talking right now, and yeah, it's just a chance for us to kind of kick back. We talk a little rugby, talk a little bit about life, just really building that community for folks. And I think, for better or for worse, we are a very small rugby community in this country still. It's growing every day, and that's really encouraging. But, I don't know anybody in my town that's into rugby. And so it's nice to have, these guys that I get to talk to every week. And then also more people on Reddit, more people on Discord, just kind of all sharing ideas and sharing mutual love for the game. So, yeah, join us. It's going to be a kind of a free-for-all. I think a lot of it's just chatting about whatever you want to chat about. So feel free to set up, come join Discord and come join the conversation. And as time goes on, we're going to be looking at more options, more ways to integrate that. If we want to do, a voice chats, they do have that capability on the system. And so, especially moving into the regular season, for games that aren't games of the week, I think there could be some real possibilities for ways for us to interact on that platform. Not saying that's what we'll end up doing, just kind of what we're bouncing around ideas for right now. So, yeah, come check us out on Discord. I'll get the link posted here on Twitter here a little bit later on this week. So that's my pitch. Thanks, guys.
Final thoughts. Josh, you have something.
You doing something this weekend, Josh?
Yeah, I'll be at the NOLA Glendale match in Infinity Park this weekend.
Nice.
Show off.
Awesome. I'm sure you'll tell us all about it.
Yeah.
Read the recap.
You'll have to read the recap. He won't tell you. You have to read it.
Hey, grab some pictures.
I'll try.
Glendale's also really pushing that this is a free event too. It's like a community event or something like that, and it's obviously a preseason match, but it's nice to see that they're offering it for free, and anyone who shows up can just walk right in.
And it's actually kind of cool. They got a kickoff match, a pre-match before it, where they got a Jesuit high school from Colorado facing a Jesuit high school from New Orleans.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, all of these guys are hosting something before the matches, and I know that Red River Rugby is having. They actually responded to a tweet that I saw because there was the A&M versus LSU game that happened right before the Houston match against Ontario, and
So
Aggie Rugger, who's Nick, who's a former Houstonian who now lives in Louisiana, actually posted a video, and a lot of the fans were singing the war song or the fight song not war song. What am I thinking? I didn't go to a good college with a good sports. A fight song for A&M, and they're all just like going back and forth and singing it. And it was like saw off the horns or something like that. So that was pretty cool.
Saw off the horns off the horns of varsity. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, something like that. So I think that's University of Texas Rugby is playing, I think, A&M in one of the matches or before one of the matches. I don't know exactly who it is, but they're going to be playing. So it's great to see. We knew this before, but it's great to see them actually bring in. It's a double header. Bring in double headers from local schools, get them involved, make them fans, and obviously, if you went to that school, as you would have seen in that video that Nick posted, you really get into it for the team because you went there, even if you didn't play rugby. So,
yep. So,
yeah.
Victor, take us out.
Sounds good. Well, guys, thank you very much for listening. Again, this was episode 26 of the Earful of Dirt Major League Rugby podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our channel at YouTube called Earful of Dirt Podcast. Like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Earful of Dirt on all three platforms. Check out our brand new website. Well, I mean, it's not brand new anymore, but in any case, check it out. earfulofdirt.com. Add our podcast to iTunes, Acast, Google Play, Stitcher, Player FM, and leave us a review. Call us at 1-720-600-2679 to leave a voicemail or join our live broadcast at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Adios.